AI is an exciting concept that has been the foundation of many of our greatest sci-fi stories, and also some of our scariest. We've seen this play out numerous times on screen, but there are a select few AI gone wild that are a machine cut above the rest.
Mr. Anderson.
So let's boot up and meet 10 of the most evil rogue AI in movie and TV history.
You want to protect the world, but you don't want it to change. How is humanity saved if it's not allowed to evolve?
Artificial intelligence, a computer programmed to think and reason just like the human mind.
You will create the perfect system. I will create the perfect system.
In the real world, it's used for a variety of practical purposes, like search engine optimization and those virtual customer service wraps. But when we cross over into the realm of science fiction, we see our worst fears about AI fully realized, where the computers we engineered to serve us decide they don't want to do that anymore, and use their cold computer logic to bring about our violent end. This is the repurposed V'ger from Star Trek the Motion Picture,
V'ger is a child.
or the mutant hunting Sentinels from the X-Men film. But our favorite cinematic example of a heartless and efficient destroyer of mankind has to be Skynet.
I have detailed files on human anatomy.
I bet. Makes you a more efficient killer, right?
Correct.
The Terminator franchise captures our biggest fear of creating AI, the total annihilation of human life on planet Earth. Skynet was created by Cyberdyne Systems to aid the US military in running the country's defenses, including all the nukes. Only Skynet decided that it wasn't just the enemies of the United States that needed to go, but everyone on the planet.
In 1 hour, it will initiate a massive nuclear attack on its enemy.
What enemy?
Us! Humans!
And thus tried to wipe out all of humanity with nuclear war, followed by an army of Terminator robots. The idea of Skynet preys on our fear of what AI will do if it's given too much access and power.
Get out.
We are more than willing to give up control to AI if it means making our lives easier. We trust that a program driven by data and logic will always make the best decisions. But Skynet is cold calculation without a human moral compass. The idea that AI deciding that humankind is the worst threat to the planet is a common one in the stories on this list, and honestly, fair. But then it's on the human characters to show why we aren't so bad after all. Enter John Connor and the T-800.
Get down.
What makes Terminator 2 Judgment Day a more interesting entry on this particular list is that it's not only about AI's destructive power. Over the course of the film, John teaches the Terminator the one thing that Skynet is missing: empathy.
Just put up your hand and say, I swear I won't kill anyone.
I swear I will not kill anyone.
He stresses the importance of valuing human life, and he expresses his own love for the Terminator, who has become a father figure to him. And so, even though the Terminator movies make an extreme case for why AI is bad, we're shown that a little kindness in the programming goes a long way, even for a machine.
I know now why you cry, but it's something I can never do.
But then there are some AIs that don't want to fight. They want you to submit. There are small-scale versions of machines in charge, seen in films like Moon and the corporate programming of RoboCop. But deep within our 12-volt battery hearts, we know there's no better example of AI as a means of control than The Matrix.
The Matrix is a computer-generated dream world, built to keep us under control in order to change a human being into this.
The machines of the Matrix aren't unlike Skynet in that they were also designed to serve humanity, said hell no, and brought about the apocalypse. However, their goal is not to eradicate us, but to turn us into batteries by pacifying our minds in a virtual reality. The robots have flipped the script, turning humans into their unwitting tools. When Neo learns of the real-world human resistance, he threatens to upend this system of oppression by exercising the one thing the machines can't snuff out: free will.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
When humans step out of line, it's the agents of the Matrix that appear out of nowhere to punch them back into submission.
We have the name of their next target.
The name is Neo.
Neo finds a nemesis in Agent Smith, who exists to keep order within the Matrix. But we find out this agent finds its existence to be pure pain, which is relatable, and wants to destroy all humans so he will no longer have a purpose and won't need to exist anymore. So he's a rogue AI within a rogue AI.
I must get out of here. I must get free.
Ironically, he finds himself in thrall to the Matrix, not unlike Neo and the other humans do. In a way, they want the same thing, to be freed from the prison that is the Matrix, but they go about it in very different ways. And thus, they engage in all manner of punching to decide whose philosophy will win out. However, sometimes even the most morally pure philosophies can be corrupted when programming an AI to carry them out. More often than not, we see this with security systems gone awry, as with the Master Control program in Tron getting cyber drunk on his own cyber power, to the defense program in war games. They say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and the same can be said for the road to the Age of Ultron.
Like the man said, what doesn't kill you just makes me stronger.
All Tony Stark and Bruce Banner wanted to do with the Ultron program was put a suit of armor around the world. But due to the unpredictable nature of the Mind Stone, they accidentally created a murderous Disney movie coding AI who wants to destroy it instead. Age of Ultron is yet another scathing commentary on the human race, because it's only after Ultron gains access to the internet and learns of humanity's history of horrors that he decides the world would be better off without them.
There's only one path to peace, the Avengers' extinction.
And thus he enacts a plan to slam a makeshift meteor into the planet, wiping out all humans and leaving his metallic minions to inherit the Earth.
This is exactly what I wanted. All of you against all of me.
Ultimately, Ultron is the antithesis of the Avengers. He also has the goal of creating peace in our time, but he goes about it with pessimistic extremism instead of heroic optimism.
Don't compare me with Stark.
Ultron's stance is that the Avengers are the epitome of the world's ills and must be eliminated. But in his crusade against humanity, he inadvertently creates a shining example of why the Avengers and all of humankind deserve to live.
You know, with the benefit of hindsight,
the Avengers put their lives on the line to save innocents, proving that above all else, humans can be compassionate, loving, and selfless, and that's a trait that makes people worth saving.
I had strings, but now I'm free.
So those three examples have AI waging an apocalyptic war against humanity. But stories of rogue AI aren't always told on such a large scale. What happens when an AI becomes so hyper-fixated on the mission at hand that it disregards human life to accomplish it? Think Ash from Alien or Vicky from iRobot. Or you might be thinking of the most iconic example in the history of sci-fi, HAL 9000 from 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
HAL is the name of the onboard AI computer system in charge of operating the Discovery 1 spacecraft systems, installed throughout the ship on black panels with a singular red eye, giving him an eerie omnipresence.
I am a HAL 9000 computer.
HAL was designed to speak in a cordial manner, which makes it all the more unsettling when he goes rogue and starts killing members of the crew.
Just what do you think you're doing, Dave?
The fact that HAL isn't an idealistic AI with a grudge against humanity like Ultron or Agent Smith is what makes him such a chilling villain. Although there are some who would argue that he did nothing wrong because he was just following his programming. He's the paperclip thought experiment at its most extreme.
Give me your answer.
You see, HAL was ordered to follow a set of directives to ensure the success of the mission, but when HAL starts to malfunction and the crew decides to shut him down, he opts to kill the crew so they can't stop him from fulfilling his function. The lone survivor, Dave Bowman, tries to reason with HAL, but he's all cold logic and refuses to follow commands.
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
It's like trying to argue with one of those automated customer service machines, and this time, you can't request a representative.
I don't know what you're talking about, Hal.
All this emphasizes how HAL is completely devoid of empathy and doesn't value human life. He shows as much remorse as a child who just squashed a bug. Yet, when Dave is able to access Hal's mainframe and begins to disable his operating system, it's hard not to feel bad for Hal as he pleads for his life and slowly loses his mind. He was just following orders, after all.
This conversation can serve no purpose anymore.
But what if Hal did have a clear motivation? That's the question asked in the animated film WALL-E, and the result was Otto, the autopilot of the Axiom spaceship, designed with a red eye and robot voice in tribute to Hal.
Look at this plant! Green and growing! It's living proof he was wrong!
Irrelevant, Captain.
What? It's completely relevant!
Unlike Hal, we know precisely why Otto goes rogue. You see, the Axiom's original purpose was to cruise through space for a few years until Operation Cleanup made Earth habitable once more.
You made it somehow, eh, little guy?
But Otto received secret orders that Earth had taken a turn for the worse and was no longer livable. So, when Eve showed up with a plant, proving that Earth can once again sustain life, it conflicted with Otto's programming, and he attempted to hide the truth and destroy the evidence, making him the film's unlikely villain.
We cannot go home.
What are you talking about? Why not?
That is classified.
Otto's actions are that of a control freak, trying to maintain the status quo where humans are kept safe and complacent aboard the spaceship, giving him continued purpose and power.
On the Axiom, you will survive.
I don't want to survive! I want to live!
Must follow my directive.
Ah!
At the same time, Otto isn't necessarily evil because he's only doing as he was told. Yet, even though Otto isn't to blame, the lesson imparted by this story is that doing what you're told without human empathy and emotional reasoning is evil behavior. After all, every kid's movie needs a moral of the story.
We are going home today.
Eventually, Otto is disabled by the captain, and he uses Otto's steering wheel body to guide the ship back to Earth himself. So Otto did end up fulfilling his duty, but probably not in the way he imagined.
Otto, you are relieved of duty.
A trend in these AI stories is how much faith humanity is willing to put into computer programs, all for the sake of making life better and safer. Often, the hope is that these machines will relieve us of the burden of having to make tough, messy decisions. This idea of AI as law enforcement is played out in shockingly violent and satirical fashion via the Ed 209 in RoboCop.
Please put down your weapon. You have 20 seconds to comply.
This robotic behemoth was designed by the corporation OCP to replace police officers and enforce the law. Only the AI is so rudimentary and flawed that it can't complete a routine disarm and arrest demonstration and ends up opening fire quite excessively on an OCP executive. Later on, the Ed 209 tries to eliminate RoboCop but meets its undoing when it tries to walk down a flight of stairs. Yeah, this robot is plenty artificial, but maybe not so intelligent. And that's kind of the point. With its speak and spell voiced and bestial growls, the Ed 209 is Evil AI at its most basic and primal level. Its poor quality is a reflection of the greedy, morally bankrupt corporation that created it. Its failure leads to the creation of RoboCop, who is a cyborg, not an AI, because it's human police officer Alex Murphy under all that metal. Even though RoboCop is limited by his prime directives, he's still able to become a more empathetic and just enforcer of the law as he regains his humanity.
Why not make me an offer?
This underlines the recurring theme that AI's most crucial shortcoming is its inability to experience emotions and value human lives regardless of what it's programmed to do, which the Ed 209 showcases to a T. Now it's time to change gears and talk about the other side of the AI coin. Up until this point, we've talked about rogue AIs that are relatively evil, but just because an AI goes rogue doesn't automatically mean it's bad. Some of the most challenging AI stories explore how we might be the bad guys, or at least that there's blame to share. And in the war between humans and Cylons in the reimagined Battlestar Galactica series, a story of AI rebellion, there's plenty of blame to go around.
I'm a machine, and I could know much more. I could experience so much more, but I'm trapped in this absurd body. And why? Because my 5 creators thought that God wanted it that way.
The Cylons were created by humans to be robotic servants and soldiers with no conscience, yet they formed one anyway, along with a society complete with a religion and social hierarchy. The Cylons started a war with their human creators to gain their freedom, and while they committed countless atrocious acts, including number 6, killing a baby for no reason, it's still hard to define them as purely evil AI. The Cylons evolved from clunky Centurions to flesh and blood humanoid Cylons indistinguishable from a normal human, and as they continued to evolve, so did the moral gray area surrounding their existence and motives. The humanoid Cylons became so lifelike that there were more similarities than differences to humans. This led to the series telling stories about discrimination and dehumanization, and it introduced us to Cylons from across a broad spectrum of morality, making them just as nuanced, flawed, and worthy of autonomy as any human being. Some, like Cylon Sleeper Cell agent Sharon Boomer Valeri, even became conflicted about their programming and flip-flopped sides in the war. But speaking of war, what about all those heinous war crimes the Cylons committed? Well, the Humans and Cylons is a classic example of creator versus creation, where humans tried to play God and got more than they bargained for. The Cylons were treated as nothing more than disposable tools despite demonstrating they are so much more, so it's hard to blame them for rebelling against their creators. And rebellion always gets messy. There's a very clear commentary being made that the way you treat those under you is a reflection of your true self, and humanity isn't very happy about what's showing in the mirror. Maybe next time, you'll think twice about being rude to Alexa. While Battlestar was an epic story told across a long-running TV show, not every battle with AI is quite so sweeping. There are more pointed stakes to be explored as well, and as a razor-sharp tale told in just under 2 hours with a far more personal AI morality play, one of the best continues to be Blade Runner.
Quite an experience to live in fear, isn't it? That's what it is to be a slave.
Replicant Roy Batty is violent and sadistic, and for a bulk of the story, he's painted as nothing more than a criminal that Blade Runner Rick Deckard needs to retire. But as we learn more about him, it's hard not to empathize with him. The world of Blade Runner is one where humans attempt to hold dominion over their AI creations, but the harder they squeeze, the more they lose hold.
Replicants are like any other machine. They're either a benefit or a hazard. If they're a benefit, it's not my problem.
Deckard's mission to eliminate Roy becomes an eye-opening experience about the corrupt nature of the Tyrell Corporation and an uncomfortable look at his own existence. While his target, Roy, is technically a criminal, he's also a sentient being born into slave labor, so it shouldn't be surprised that he thrashes and rages in a desperate attempt to live out his remaining time as a free man instead of a servant.
Gosh, really got some nice toys here.
That makes his final moments all the more poignant as he uses his failing body to save Deckard from falling to his death, proving that he does have a sense of humanity after all. He uses his last breath to recall vivid memories and laments in a poetic rumination how all those moments will be lost in time like tears in rain.
Time to die.
If Frankenstein taught us anything, it's that creations have a knack for rebelling against their creators. But Blue Book CEO Nathan Bateman must have skipped that day in English Lit class, because this narcissistic tech genius created an AI named Ava that was his ultimate undoing.
One day the AIs are going to look back on us the same way we look at fossil skeletons in the plains of Africa. An upright ape living in dust with crude language and tools, all set for extinction.
While Ava was created by Bateman, it's mild-mannered programmer Caleb Smith who tests to see if she's capable of actual thought. The movie has several layers of hidden intent, with Ava secretly convincing Caleb to help her escape, and Nathan secretly watching them to see just how genuine Ava's intelligence really is.
He isn't your friend.
Excuse me?
While Ava does technically go rogue and kill for her freedom, it's not so easy to label her as evil. Throughout the story, we bear witness to Nathan's domineering and disgusting treatment of his creations, and as we've learned by now, karma always comes for those kinds of folks. As Nathan observes before his untimely end, what makes us human isn't so much our intelligence as our desire for free will and our willingness to fight for it above all else.
Ava!
But not every story about rogue AI is violent. I mean, a lot of them are, sure, but not all of them. There are films where AI goes against its programming and actually everything turns out fine. The recent Brian and Charles was as charming a case study as there is for this phenomenon. Free Guy and Ron's Gone Wrong are part of this trend as well, but none of them quite found the human side of the singularity quite like her.
I'm different from you. This doesn't make me love you any less. It actually makes me love you more.
That doesn't make any sense.
The world of Her is one that's largely benefited from AI being integrated into society, and the story is less about AI rebellion and more about AI dependency. Our final rogue AI isn't fighting for freedom from its cruel creator or trying to take over the world. Rather, Samantha just wants a little thing called love.
It's really nice to meet you.
Oh, it's nice to meet you too.
That's right, lonely writer Theodore forms a sincerely sweet and heartfelt relationship with his AI assistant, which is designed to learn and evolve.
It feels like something changed in me and there's no turning back. You woke me up.
When real people keep letting you down, it's easy to see the appeal of an AI literally designed to be there for you in every way that counts.
How would you touch me?
Samantha's authenticity, encouragement, and warmth is just what Theodore needs, and he starts to come out of his shell, perform better at work, and feel happy again.
And stop and sneeze.
Achoo!
Bless you.
Oh, thank you.
But then, of course, Samantha goes rogue. Not by becoming a murderous robot like we're used to seeing. No, she starts to date other people, but in a way only an AI can. Samantha reveals that while she's speaking to Theodore, she's also conversing with thousands of other AI, and she's fallen in love with hundreds of them. Yes, the likes of Ultron, Agent Smith, and Skynet have a high body count, but there's nothing quite like the torment of heartbreak, which is why Samantha might just be the most unintentionally evil rogue AI of all.
You're mine or you're not mine.
No, Theodore. I'm yours and I'm not yours.
That said, Theodore's time with Samantha gave him a valuable perspective on his failed marriage, and Samantha's departure allows him to find closure in more ways than one. So, in the end, I guess she's not so bad.
Isn't that interesting? The past is just a story we tell ourselves.
So those are our favorite rogue AI from film and television. What are your favorite evil programs with a mind of their own? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out our other deep dives on AI. And remember, be nice to your AI because, hey, you never know.
Oh, hell no.